Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of EnglishIn, where in today's episode we are going to learn something very insightful and very practical because after you listen to this episode, you're going to learn how actually English is really easy. Okay, now before we start off, I'm going to ask you, how many of you still translate in your head? Or maybe you're now not a beginner anymore because you know some words in English or you might understand very well in English, but yet there is a kind of something that kind of holds you back in your brain, in your mind, every time you think in English, and it's kind of really hard to get them away from your daily practice. Like me, for example, I often at the very beginning I learn English. I often translate from my native language to English. And is it completely wrong or not? Okay, let me talk. Let me try to elaborate these things. Right, a lot of learners, English learners, tend to translate from their native language to English, and that's normal. That because that's the way how we learn the foreign language here, especially in Indonesia, where we are at school, we're introduced to language patterns. We are assigned to memorize number of vocabulary, and then we arrange words. We learn the grammar of the language. So there should be like direct translation from our native language to English, and that is fine at the very beginning. But as you develop your English further, then there's a kind of feeling that you don't speak the language naturally, right? While in speaking you want to be natural, in speaking we want to be natural. We just want to like there's a crossover in conversation between you and your speaking partner. You don't have to think, and that's the question that keeps popping me in my head. That's keep popping in my head. Like, how can I stop translating, or at least how those things will never affect the way how I think in English anymore? That's the question that I've been trying to pursue. Eventually it turned out that it's not that easy to like switch from this kind of old habit to new habit, like the habit of translating things in our head from our native language to English. It takes a process, it takes transition, and here I'm going to tell you how I transition from translating things from my native language to English. Or even now, I'm actually still pretty much affected, but not 100% of. There is interference from my L1, which is my first language, to my target language, which is English. What I do is that, of course, I make English as part of my daily life. I make it live. I mean, almost every day I listen to English podcasts, English songs, and try to get the meaning, not to translate, not to what is that? Not to find the meaning, the right meaning in my Bahasa Indonesia, in my native language. No, but what I do when I don't understand a word in English, let's say, or you encounter a new word in English, what I do is that trying to find the definition of that particular word. So every time I encounter the same situation of that word, it feels like, okay, I know the context, but I don't know the translation. I mean the meaning in Bahasa Indonesia. So pretty much I learn that way. For example, I read a book or I listen to podcast, listen to English song, for example. Then I encounter a new word, which is completely new for me. I don't find the meaning in Bahasa Indonesia. And the same thing, when I don't know some words in English, but you want that particular word in English from your native language, I don't find the what is it? What the meaning of that word in my native language. For example, um, I try to find in try to googling, or even now with AI, artificial intelligence like Gemini or ChatGPT, you can just type asking, for example, like what is the proper, what is the word that describes people who get easily fooled when they were young, for example, something like that. So they answer, okay, that's gullible. So gullible, for example, in this case, the word gullible, I don't know the meaning in Bahasa Indonesia. I mean, the equivalent of gullible in Bahasa Indonesia, but I do understand that gullible refers to somebody who get easily fooled by someone. For example, when we were a kid, we get easily pranked by our friends, so we were gullible. So to express that situation is gullible. So okay, one word, and then today you learn one word, tomorrow maybe two words, and many more. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I do is that um, I try to what is it, to capture, for example, like sentences. I found unique sentences from my listening practice. I know completely the meaning, but what is that? But that's not very common for me to use that. So I capture and I write it down. I learned the pattern of that language. For example, it was just yesterday. Okay, someone said, I listened to a podcast and someone said like this one is not clear to me. Okay, I repeat again. This one isn't clear to me. This one is not clear to me. In this situation or in this context, the speaker expresses this phrase or this expression when he doesn't understand a particular thing. So he said like, this one isn't clear to me. I write it down. I wrote the expression, this one is not clear to me, and then I memorize it. So every time I encounter the same situation, then I don't need to translate from my native language. I just say, okay, this one isn't clear to me, which means that, okay, I do not understand this, which is very typical for me. I use that sentence, I do not understand this one particularly. But the more natural way is that this one isn't clear to me. I memorize it. I practice it. I use that sentence in my everyday English. So it will make our English more natural and feels more natural, right? I'm sorry, I'm speaking like stumbling over words, but that's okay. Okay. That's the second activity that I do. And the next one is that I typically, like, I created a sticky notes for words that I have in my room, for example. That's the door, that's the window. So you don't find the meaning of what window is in your native language, but you just stick window in the object, which means that every time you see that, that's the thing. I mean, the thing that you stick where the word is, where the word sticks there, represents the object, right? Okay, that's the window. You stick the window. That's the door. That's the bookshelf, and whatever. That's what I've been doing, guys. So translating things from our native language is actually natural, and it may happen because we're not like a kid 100%. We weren't born as a baby anymore. We have our mother tongue, and there should be interference, but don't worry, because you can actually transition from that situation, from that experience to what is it, to become more fluent in speaking. Just like me, I'm trying so hard to get this level of my English where I'm not relying anymore 100%, no, for sure. Like 90%, I'm not relying on my native language, or even I do not try to find the equivalent words or the synonym of that word in my Bahasa Indonesia. No. So I directly open the dictionary, and the most important thing is that being consistent, because when you're consistent listening, when you're consistent practicing your speaking, your mouth is, you know, it becomes automatic. So never give up. Don't worry. Okay, that's all I think, guys, for today. It's almost 10 minutes already. So thank you very much. If you like this video, don't forget to like and share And thank you very much and see ya. Bye bye.